Okay guys, welcome back to Man Cave Mondays. I'm Tyler.
I'm Shandog.
And today we're going to be reacting to Jordan Peterson completely destroys the feminist narrative.
Wait a minute. That's Harold. This is Harold.
And this is Harold.
He's a sleepy boy. Not his daddy's. Right, anyway, yeah. We're doing a Jordan Peterson completely destroys feminist narrative. Yeah, to be honest, I'm aware of Jordan Peterson. And as I said, I'm neither left nor right. So it's interesting to see how, because I know is he a science professor?
He's a licensed psychologist.
That's it,
psychiatrist, something like that. Yeah,
he knows how.
He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my idea of the patriarchy, which is a system of male dominance of society.
Yeah, but that's not my sense of the patriarchy.
So what's yours?
Well, in what sense is our society male-dominated?
The fact that the vast majority of wealth is owned by men, the vast majority of capital is owned by men. Women do more unpaid labour.
Very tiny proportion of men, and a huge proportion of people who are seriously disaffected are men. Most people in prison are men. Most people who are on the street are men. Most victims of violent crime are men. Most people who commit suicide are men. Most people who die in wars are men. People who do worse in school are men. It's like, where's the dominance here precisely? What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of hyper-successful men and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
But I could say equally well that most rape victims are women. You know, terrible things happen to people of both sexes.
And you could say that with perfect utility, but that doesn't provide any evidence for the existence of a male-dominated patriarchy. Well, it just means that terrible things happen to both genders, which they certainly do.
But there are almost no women who rape men, for example. So that is an asymmetry there in sexual violence.
Well, yes, there's an asymmetry in all sorts of places, but that doesn't mean that Western culture is a male-dominated patriarchy. The fact that there are asymmetries has nothing to do with your basic argument.
No, but you might equally...
This is a trope that people just accept. Western society is a male-dominated patriarchy. It's like, no, it's not. That's not true. And even if it has a patriarchal structure to some degree, the fundamental basis of that structure is not power, it's competence. That's why our society works. It's only when a structure degenerates into tyranny that the fundamental relationships between people become dependent on power. It's not power. If you hire a plumber who's likely to be male, it's not because there's roving bands of tyrannical plumbers forcing you to make that choice. And it's the case with almost every interaction that you have at the face of our culture. You're dealing with people who are offering a service of one form or another, who are usually part of the broad middle class, and what you're looking for is the person who can offer the best service, and you can find it. It's not a consequence of being dominated by anything that's tyrannical. And then again, our culture, our Western culture, which is by no means perfect, and certainly has tyrannical elements, like all cultures do, is the least tyrannical society that's ever been produced, and certainly the least tyrannical society that exists now. This whole patriarchy thing, I think you have no idea how pernicious and dangerous it is.
Well, no, I don't. I really don't. Go on.
Throughout history have fundamentally cooperated to push back against the absolute catastrophe of existence. A terrible death rate, the probability of chronic starvation, early death, disease, the difficulty of raising children, with all the death that was associated with that. And to look backwards in time and say, well, basically what happened was men took the upper hand and persecuted women in this tyrannical patriarchy is an absolutely dreadful misreading of history. It's a terrible thing to teach young women, and it's a horrible thing to inflict upon men.
So that was it?
Yeah. No, well, to be honest, it's just so combative on, which seems like common sense. It's like, for the perfect example, when they always use the industries as being gender dominant, well, basically women are generally known as being better cooks. So why is there more male chefs? Because when as you know, I'm a fully qualified chef.
I didn't know that. Never speak about it.
You I don't really actually speak about it. You just eat all my good food.
I do eat all your good food. If you ever get a chance to eat Shannon's food, take it.
Yeah,
100% guarantee. It's got a 0 on the hygiene scale, but it's good.
This is coming from that old fucking your upside down head over here.
Upside down head, I've got hair, thank you.
Yeah, not half as much as on your fucking chin, son.
Says the guy who could barely grow any hair on his chin.
Not too bad.
Have you seen the Kathy Newman debate with Jordan Peterson as well? That one woman who gets saying
Yeah.
over
Was
and
that,
over.
that's in the Channel 4 one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where she said that, like about how, because the thing they always go to is why are, like, out of all the Fortune 500 companies in the world, only 11 of the CEOs of them are women.
Yeah.
And I hate when people use that argument, because if you look into CEOs have incredibly unhappy home lives.
Yeah, of course they do.
Jeff Bezos isn't married.
No, of course.
The CEO of Apple isn't married.
But this is the thing.
Trust
Yeah,
me.
go on.
Because, and that's why. So it's like Jordan Peterson says in that other interview as well, why would you want to be a CEO? That's the problem.
It's because they don't get a chance to start like a family as such. Like for a woman, if they get pregnant, unfortunately, the vast majority of their good 3 to 4 years of that bringing up a child, the woman is mainly there unless they go for the childcare route. Obviously, in the UK, it's a bit different because obviously, from 3 years old, you get paid. You could get funded for infant school now. But it's so obviously men don't, in that sense, if they don't have children, or even if they do, they might only have them on weekends. But it comes down to literal basic facts like that in this day and age. This is the problem. A lot of people now are in the wrong positions because of big companies and corporates trying to be gender friendly and racial friendly, thinking, well, it's like, oh, I've got a token black guy, token Asian guy, I can't have too many white men, chucking a lesbian there. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's the best people don't get the job because they're like, well, actually, we don't actually have
diversification, but
an Indian transvestite in the
well, that's
department.
That's why Jordan Peterson says equality of outcome is never a good thing.
No, of course it's not.
Because it's like that. It's like people say there. Well, let's say more men are CEOs than women. Well, I could also turn that around to say that we live in a horrific matriarchy just because more women are nurses and teachers than there are men.
And in this sense, like, women are allowed to join the army now in the UK and whatever, and a lot, and even the Marines now. So like, women are getting the equal chance.
But that's the thing.
Does that mean that
they have to lower the standards for them to get in though?
Yeah, but that's possible. It's possible. I don't actually know. But even in that sense,
no,
are we going to see an
it.
influx of women Marines now? Because I'm pretty sure we're not. Like, we might see, there might be 5% of the Marines may actually become female.
You'll see a slight increase, obviously.
Then it's like in fair play, because there's no women fighters.
I can do it.
No, there's a reason why women are the most like dangerous, usually, of all the animals, and quite often, especially a lot of the spiders, they're bigger because of the fact of their. Do you know what I mean? They're meant to be. They're more protective. They're more fierce.
Motherly instinct.
So yeah, that's fine. But at the same time, it's like, if you take that fierceness into life and into business, like most men do, like if you meet most businessmen, they're usually pricks because they have to be arseholes and stitch people up left, right, and centre.
You saying that? I saw a statistic once, and it said that like 21% of CEOs are psychopaths because they have to be.
Of course they are. Yeah. They have to be completely dedicated, and it's like, job. And what's who said that saying? It's like, it was at Einstein though. If you repeating something is the definition of insanity is repeating something and expecting a different outcome.
I don't know if you said
businessmen do that over and over and over and over and over again in different things, either investing money or doing homework into one business and things like that, or even their own businesses, into finding ways to do it cheaper. And sometimes they might try something 10, 12 times before they get success.
Where are you going with this? We're talking about the gender pay gap.
Yeah. You went on that. No, I was just saying the fact of that, like, if it's all you've got to take, women have to be willing to take the same gamble as what men were, and unfortunately because their social lives.
Well, women are a lot more agreeable than men are. So women are a lot, like, basically, like, well, for example, the other day my pay didn't come through, so I turned around to my boss and said, right, either you pay me or I'm not coming back to work.
Yeah.
He said, oh, you're being unreliable. I said, no, I'm not. You're being unreliable because you haven't paid me.
Yeah. So
which is worse? Whereas, at least according to the statistics anyway, a woman will be like, well, just pay me when you can.
It's in the sense.
So that's why a lot of women don't tend to get promoted.
But I don't believe that there is a gender pay gap. I really don't, because at the end of the day,
there is a pay gap, but it's not due to gender.
No, it wouldn't be. It's due to skills, and it's due down to like. Don't get me wrong. There's always going to be bias.
Well, do you know where the gender pay gap thing came from? The whole men make 30p more an hour.
I don't have a clue.
Basically, they took all the men in the world who worked full time, or I say in the world, but they took all the men who worked full time and all the women who worked full time, and that was the only.
But how many women are going to be working full time compared to men?
No. Let me finish. they didn't factor in what they did for a job, how long they'd worked there, their level of education, or the amount of hours they worked each week. When you factor these statistics into it, the wage gap, narrows to the point of vanishing. There is no gender pay gap. In this country there may be a pay gap, but it's not due to gender whatsoever.
No, of course it's not.
Because that's illegal.
No employer thinks, oh, well, actually a man could do that job better.
Yeah.
Like, unless it comes down to labour and things like that. But unfortunately, sorry, lovely, it comes down to genetics, biology. Yeah. At the end of the day, would you want to see that in security? Like that is in bodyguards.
I mean, I've worked with some incredibly good female security guards.
Yeah,
but they're usually quite bullish.
Name one under 14, 15 stone. There we go.
It would still be the same thing for men. I don't want, in that case though, but like I said, it would be the same thing for men. I do not want to work next to another doorman.
Could you imagine?
Who's just then as a rake. Because he's not going to be able to help me out.
I don't really see, like, in a general like view of the army, like I'm not the biggest of fans, so I obviously support like whatever we have to do, which isn't politically funded. But like, imagine if they were having to be this open with selection in the army, thinking, oh yeah, like we need more women, or we need more Asians. Like, no, that's not how it works, because you're putting people in danger. Like,
that is what they did do though. They had to lower the standards. So I
know that to a degree, but that's only because, like, in all fairness, for Royal Marines, people die like yearly, like failing. Do you know what I mean? And due to what you have to go through for that.
I would say that women would probably make better commanders than men would, like better strategists. Because I think women biologically are smarter than men.
Yeah, because of the pure fact of that, men are like literal fucking apes, and it's all defend the family, hunter gatherer.
We tend to be driven by emotion, whereas women are a lot more tend to be driven by logic.
I've read saying about that women are 10% more emotional than men, like in the fact of, because they have to be. It's because they're more caring in the family. Unfortunately...
Yeah, but they also tend to think more critically than men do.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. This is the thing, though. With women, they've got their own strengths. They've literally got their own...
Yeah.
But wait, like, everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. And I think, like...
We're starting to waffle here. This was only a 3-minute video. We've gone on for 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, I was getting wrapped up anyway. But I reckon, like, in general, I think we can't... If this is going to happen, I think people just have to start. So,
can we just agree then that a lot of these feminists, it's the tyrannical patriarchy is just complete bullshit?
I like Tyrannosaurus Rexes, but tyrannical is definitely not the word I'd like use for.
Well, if it was under a tyrannical patriarchy, women would not have the right to vote. The definition of tyrannical means no good can come from it.
No, I didn't.
Women have equal rights.
Yeah. No, it's in all fairness, like, we're taking steps forward over the last however many years. They want it was I don't know. I don't want to say the years. It might have been 20s or 30s when Emmeline Pankhurst and the suffragettes, when she ran out in front of the racehorses to get women's rights to vote. Like,
I mean, I know women in America got the right to vote in 1920, and I agree with that. Women, obviously, everyone should have the right to vote, and I agree with what they call second wave feminism, which is like women when all the men came back from war.
So,
and all the women, and they turned around the women were like, well, you can go back home and make me a sandwich now. And obviously they've been working in the armament factories.
The thing is, we've gone from fucking the suffragettes to candy floss, fat, Monster Energy drinking women. Do you know what I mean? Kicking off on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get better at some point.
Oh yeah, third wave feminism is absolutely stupid.
But yeah,
well, to put it bluntly, it is.
On a whole, I think that'll wrap up the man cave.
Yeah.
And we'll get on to another one the next time, I reckon.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, peace. No, the dog's asleep. All right.
Hang on. Hey.